I'm mixing up 4 different colors for the palm trees. The first is a darker green that is made using the Viridian hue and the burnt sienna. The next is made using the Viridian hue and some of the yellow green. Then I took the yellow green and added more yellow to it. And finally, the burnt sienna with a small amount of black just to gray it down. Before you move to your final, you're going to practice making both the trunks and the palm fronds. So get a piece of watercolor scrap that you can use. And you'll need your 1/4 inch flat brush and some brown paint. I'm going to water that down just about like that. And tap off any excess paint on some paper towel. So I'm going to just make these small marks, drawing the brush across, overlapping it slightly, and then making the marks thinner as I go up. Make sure to control the amount of paint on your brush. That's really key. And you'll notice that as I go up, I'm developing a little bit of a ragged edge, and I kind of like that look because it looks like a palm tree to me. I'd like you to make 4 or 5 of these. Don't make them too big. They should really only be about the size of the ferrule of your brush, that metal part of your brush right there. Now you'll practice making some palm fronds. I have some green paint and my 1/4 inch flat. I'm going to make some very thin lines. You want them to taper slightly. Now I'll use the corner of the brush to make the leaves. And this can be a little difficult to do, so definitely practice. I'd like you to make 8 or 9 of these before you go on to your final. You can experiment with using different colors and different directions. And I find it's easier for me if I can turn my paper sometimes, depending on the direction that the leaves are going. Then practice adding the palm fronds to the trunks. Just like 2 or 3 of them. Good practice before you go into your final. Now I'll move on to making some bigger palm fronds. I'm just going to go into my final, but I'd like you to practice these on some scraps. And they're going to look about like this. I'm using my 1/4 inch brush again, picking up whichever color you like of the 3 colors you mixed up. And I'm using the tip of the brush again, just like I did with the little ones. Starting with a nice thin line for the spine. And again, I'll use the corner of the brush to make the fronds. If you feel like your brush is running out of paint, go grab some more. It's a small brush, so it's going to run out pretty quickly. And here I'm trying to make them taper, so they're going from thick to thin. And it's fine if they're not perfectly lined up. But I would pay attention to making sure the ones at the end are smaller and shorter. I'll do the other side. I'm making this paint lighter so that it looks like the sun is hitting that side of the frond. Now choose one of the other colors and make another one. So I'd like to see 2 on your final. Be sure to save some room over on the right hand side because you will be putting some small palm trees there. So you'll make 3 palm trees about this size. Always start with the trunk. Make sure you give yourself enough room at the top to put the palm fronds on when you put the trunk in. I'll start by putting in some light colored fronds. So I've added some water to my paint. And I want these to look like they are behind the other leaves, and that's why I'm making them lighter. And here I have a very light one in the back. At this point, I'm going to put in some of the spines so that I can plan out the rest of the tree. So I'll put one here on the right side, one behind, and then another one on the left. And I'll probably add more fronds as well, but this just gives me some good balance. I'll make this one quite dark. You definitely need to have some variety in terms of color and value. And finally, I'll put some light ones down here at the bottom. When you finish your 3 trees, the last thing I'd like you to do is just get a small amount of the brown paint and make the top of the trunk a tiny bit darker. It doesn't need to be very much, just enough so that it looks like it's in shadow.